Alright, Adam. Now we're going to talk about um, musical, the duration of musical notes. Okay, so um, so I need to show you what are the different. If I can find a page with different um, types of notes. Okay, if you can turn to page 10. Alright, on page 10, you see, go to where it says number 1. So the second staff is where it says number 1. Okay, so on the second half of the staff, you see where it's written major second. Okay, now that note, those are actually two notes. You have a C and a D, right? You have a D above a C. Okay, now that round note symbol is called a whole note. Why is it called a whole note? Because it lasts for the length of the measure. When you see this, you see the staff on number 1, it's divided into 2. And so each side is called a measure. So every division is a measure. So, and if you look on the first staff here, after the treble clef symbol, you see a 4, you see two 4s, 1 4 on top of another. So this is a 4/4. The time is 4/4, which means in one measure you have a whole note lasts for 4 beats. So 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. So one whole note lasts for the whole 4 count. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. So when you just see a round and no lines attached, no vertical lines attached to that circle, that circular note, you know it's a whole note. So you're supposed to hold it for 4 beats for the whole measure. Okay. Now next, to the left of the second measure where you have the whole notes, you're seeing two notes, two clear notes where you have a circle and then you have a horizontal line that is attached to the circular note, to the note basically. And what this is half of this chord, this note symbol represents half the length of a whole note. So this is half of 4 is 2. So every time you see this type of note with a clear circle and a line and a vertical line, it lasts for 2 beats. So here on this staff they're showing one note is a C, the next note is a D. So the C lasts for 2 measures and the D lasts for 2 measures. So you play the C for 2 measures, 1 2 1 2, and the D for 2 measures, 1 2 1 2, and then on the next in the next measure the two go together. So if they're attached to each other, you play them together. If not, you play them one after the other. So on the first measure you have 1 2 1 2, and then 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4. You see what I mean? So you have a half tone or half note. So whole note, just a circle. Half note is the clear circle with a vertical line. Okay, now on the staff all the way to the top, you see all this the notes with black circles with a line. Okay, so those are called quarter notes because those are when the half note is divided by 2, you get a quarter note. Basically, if the white circle with a staff is 2 beats, then half of that is 1 beat. So how many quarter notes do you need in a measure? If one measure is 4 beats and one quarter note is 1 beat, then it takes 4 quarter notes to fill up a measure. That's why you see this in the first staff, you see this division, this line, which separates the 2 measures, and you have 4 notes in each measure. You have 4 quarter notes in each measure, each lasting 1 beat. So then you have 4 beats in the measure. It's a 4/4 tune, 4/4 time signature. So here you see you have on the staff below in the first measure you have 2 half notes. So then you have 2 beats twice for a total of 4 beats in the measure. And then in this third staff, to the staff to the right, you have, it says measure second, you have a D, a C and a D played together as whole notes. So for 4 beats for the whole measure. So that's how you recognize notes and notes durations when you see notes on the staff. So just so keep that in mind. So those are foundational things that you should keep in mind, because if you're gonna read music and know what it is, then just keep those things in mind and work your way through the music that you're trying to read. And so on the next page, on page 11, you see where it says number 1, a second can be lowered a half step to form a minor second. But that's not what I wanted to talk about, but this actually combines the being able to read what note it is, being able to know, to recognize a flat or a sharp. Flats and sharps are called accidentals because the note is altered. So they are called accidentals. So being able to recognize accidentals, and then being able to recognize the length of of time that you have to play the notes. So in this case, you can see you have a C and a D. Basically stuck to each other, so they have to be played at the same time, simultaneously. So you have C, D, but you see that the D is flatted. So you have C and D flat. And as we talked about, D flat can also be called a C sharp, but it would have been weird to write C sharp here. It would have not looked good. So the best thing is to say C, D flat. And then you can see that these are empty circles, hollow circles, and so these are whole notes that last for 4 beats for the whole measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then below that, at number 2, you can just go through and see if you can recognize the notes. Then now number 2, you can see you have a C and an E flat for as whole notes, so they last for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, one important thing is get used to being able to count time as you're playing. And when you listen to music on the radio, usually music on the radio is 4/4, is in 4/4 time. So try to recognize You know, try to count in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's good, actually. It's the best thing to do, especially in jazz, is to be able to put an eighth note in between when you count. So say, instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, count as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, because it'll really help you. And actually, I was just referring to eighth notes, which is half of a quarter note. So in the time that you play 1/4 note, you can play 2 eighth notes. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Instead of just 1, it's 1 and. So 2 eighth notes lasts the duration of 1/4 note. And let me see if I can show you what a eighth note is. Let me see if I can find one here in this book. Okay. If you turn to page 5, that first note, basically the black note with a line, a vertical line, and a little, I don't know, it looks like a comma attached to it, that is an eighth note. So that's one isolated eighth note. When you have a string of 8 notes next to each other, they're played as so on this first, the same page 5. Go to the 5th staff. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the 4th staff where it says satin doll. You see those first 4 notes? These are 8 notes. So it's 8 notes. When you see the bar on top of those notes that connects them, you know they are strings of 8 notes. So they're just 8 notes that are played one after another. They're next to each other. Okay, so after a little bit later, I'm gonna show you what are the silences in music. You see, in the second measure, you see a symbol that shows you that is not a note. This is a symbol. This tells you you're not supposed to play a note for a certain duration. So you have different symbols for different duration of silences, you know. And so we'll talk about that later. So just go through and make sure you can recognize the notes on the staff, what note it is, where it needs to be positioned on the keyboard. You know, always refer to the middle C as your bass to know where the note is going to be on the keyboard. So it's knowing the symbol for the note, you know, recognizing if it's a flat or sharp, or if it's just a natural note. So you have natural, you have flat, and you have sharp. So, and then recognize the duration, whether it's a whole tone, whole note, a half note, a quarter note, or an eighth note. Okay? And then you also have 16th notes, which are half the duration of a eighth note. 16th notes have they look the same as the eighth note, but they have 2 commas instead of 1. And then when they're stringed together, played one after the other, you have 2 bars on top of them instead of 1. But I think for now, if you can just recognize notes between whole notes and eighth notes, you're doing good. Okay, so go ahead and work on that, and I'll send you some more lessons. Okay, thank you, Eden.